Welcome to Moonbeam's Twitter Spaces. I'd like to introduce Tiago. Welcome, Tiago.
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. Can you guys hear me loud and clear? All right, yeah, this is the first time I'm connecting to spaces through the computer. Normally there's a lot of hiccups, but I'm glad that it's working fine. It's a pleasure to be here and to be with João, William, and Costa. We're gonna be talking about Brazil and Moonbeam in Brazil, right? Our initiative in Brazil. So I'm very excited to talk about it. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving pieces, and surely very exciting ecosystem. So first, I would like to thank João and William and Casta for joining us today. Maybe we can start with a round of introductions. Tell us about yourself, about the background, how you come up into the blockchain world, and a quick overview of your project. Maybe we start with William.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good. Well, my name is William ten Seithoff. I'm 35 years old. I'm from the Netherlands, or other side of the world than where you guys are from. One of the co-founders of Carbify, and within Carbify, responsible for sales, ecology, and legal. And before Carbify, I was the CEO of another project. And what Carbify does is we are an RWA. We bring trees on chain. We call them NF trees. We sell them. We plant them in the Amazon. We've planted 3.5 million trees last year. And we do that in agroforestry systems, so to create a social impact. And the CO2 those trees are producing, we are selling to companies all over the world. And one of them is, of course, we help Moonbeam with becoming carbon neutral. And that's why we are here. That's me.
Very exciting, and we surely gonna talk more about all those initiatives. João, maybe you can go next and talk about you and Picnic.
Hello, hello. Super happy to be here. My name is João. I'm Brazilian. Happy to be here talking about Brazil as well. A little bit about myself. My background is in data. I have worked in finance, then I moved to tech. I helped scale Uber Eats here in Brazil. At some point, decided to take some time off, took a sabbatical, studied a bunch of things. And the thing that really caught my eye was DeFi specifically. That was mid 2020. I fell in love with the idea of creating computer programs that you don't really need to trust them. They have their own life. They do their thing. And I thought that's like the future of the financial system. That's a bit outdated to say now, but I really deeply believe that and trying to build this. The main issue I found while using those products back then it was super hard to use. I saw a lot of promise, but too far away from the mainstream user. So basically what we have built is tools and a wallet, a smart account wallet called Picnic, which is a super easy and straightforward way to access DeFi. So the thing we're really going after is emulating a centralized exchange experience or making it very familiar for non-Web3 native users to interact directly with DeFi. I think that's what the future should look like, and we're doing our best to build that.
Thank you so much. As same as Carbify, Picnic is such an interesting project, really related to making meaningful and valuable changes, to the world through blockchain. So that's very exciting. Last but not least, Casta, would love to learn, your journey. I guess, everybody follows Casta at some point in time. If you're a Brazilian, if you hold the CPF, which is the Brazilian Social Security, you probably know Casta, right? So, Casta, welcome, and love to hear a little bit more about your time in blockchain.
So, hello. It's a pleasure to be here, sharing this space with all of you. As Tiago said, I am called Casta, but my name is Rafael Castaneda. So Casta is like a nickname. Usually I get this nickname. I have a master thesis in computational science. That's my background, an academic background. So I was a professor and researcher and also a software consultant for several years before I dropped everything, all my career, and jumped onto the blockchain space. Nowadays, I act as a content producer here in Brazil, and I do a lot of educational and technical content rather than speculative content. I'm also a community founder and a builder, and I'm here today to talk about Moonvilla and Valocracy, which is an innovation that we have been proposing in sort of an evolution for DAOs and for airdrop and incentive mechanisms. So it's like a kind of a new socio-economical framework for on-chain human coordination. So I'm very excited to share this with you guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure if my computer has the bandwidth, to hold the amount of brain power we have in this call today. For sure. Maybe we can go like in the first question, right, that we have. The focus of this panel is talk about Brazil and show the larger audience why Brazil is really relevant. When we think about Brazil economy, size-wise, how rich Brazil is with regards to commodity, with regards like just like natural resources and be able to build. We have a lot of opportunities in the country, right? As a underdeveloped country, there's also the opportunity to leverage blockchain, right? Which is something, we have several, let's say, issues for accessibility, and and I think blockchain is coming to resolve some of those things. Um, I think the best way to talk about it would be to hear from João, right? You're building, like picnic, and you're definitely aware of the relevance and the size of the opportunity that we have in Brazil now. Could you talk more about your perspective over the Brazil and how your vision in general?
Yeah, sure. I think giving like high level stats is a good way to start, but it's a huge country, to more than 200 million people, uh, a lot of digital usage. So if you check how much time people spend on cell phones, Brazil is always ranking up on the top. Crypto adoption is pretty high as well. It's like top 10 countries. And people are generally open to technologies. And we have a pretty fast moving central bank. We have amazing instant payments that everyone in the country can use. So there's a lot of innovation, especially I think in finance over the last 15 years. We have the largest fintech, I believe, in the world. It used to be, which is Nubank. It was worth, I think, $70 billion, something like that at its height. Not sure how much it is today, but it's huge. They have like 100 million users in a country of like 200 million. So the guys executed crazy well and built a huge company that's mostly focused just here. And one thing I think might help to give a sense on like why building in Brazil and why focusing in Brazil might be a good idea is to tell a bit of what we did in Picnic and our thought process. But we used to be very not focused in any particular geography. It was like very focused in DeFi native users. But at some point in time, we saw the opportunity to go for a less native public, to go after normies and ordinary regular people. That was basically a conjunction of a few things. There was account abstraction getting out there, and there's like more mature piece of infra elsewhere. And we decided to take a stab. Oh, let's build this experience that is basically a centralized exchange experience, but running on chain. And we decided we wanted to focus in a particular geography that's usually easier to distribute. A lot of the content that people consume about blockchain, especially when you're not talking about Web3 natives, tends to be localized. So the majority of my friends that don't work with crypto here in Brazil, they're not really listening to like Bankless or whatever English speaking podcast. They are listening to Casta and other local guys. So we saw that opportunity in segmenting users and really focusing in the Brazilian market, both in terms of like distribution, but also in terms of product. And one key piece of infrastructure we were looking after, and we did research pretty much looking after every major relevant country in the world, is like, how do people can go from fiat, from money in their bank accounts, to crypto? And here in Brazil, we had an amazing project, which is BRLA. Mateus, who's the founder, is listening to this spaces right now, and it's such an amazing on and off ramp experience. It's literally the best I have ever seen for any kind of on and off ramp. You go from money in your bank account to stable coins on chain. You go in like 1 minute or something like that. Every bank accepts that, and it's free. So it's a really optimal experience. I think it's up to like at least as good as you get in anywhere else, any fintech and any centralized exchange, and you go directly on chain. So that was super helpful to have that kind of infrastructure to build the kind of product we wanted. And Brazilian central bank super helped on that because they enabled the banking system to work like this. But it is a mature financial ecosystem that works super well with on-chain applications. So yeah, I think we're seeing a bit of the future, how it will look like.
And that's very insightful, right? We think about size wise when we think about the opportunity, right? We think about the size of the opportunity, the accessibility, right? And Brazilians are very open, to new techs, like you said, and a good environment, right? Which it's like very efficient way, in this payment system that we have with Pix and other type of payments. So this is pretty cool. Casta, maybe you can give your vision, which is a little bit more community based, or just like the little bit of the philosophy side of like how Brazilians think, and if you think we're in the right direction here.
Well, sure. Um, Brazilian community is really engaged. People not only are here for like speculating coins, but we are also a very social people. So for the ones who are like familiar with the social media phenomenon, Brazilians really dominated the previous Orkut social network. Brazilians are prevalent in Facebook, and we are also, I think, the 30 or fourth major user in MetaMask. But we like to interact, we like to exchange on community. So whenever you do something in Brazil, if you do like the correct socioeconomical incentives, people are really prone to engage, and they have a lot of fidelity for the projects that they like. So it's a very nice country to build. We have a lot of not only crypto-friendly users, but crypto-native users, people willing to learn about MetaMask, to learn about on-chain transactions, people willing to do the crypto-native onboarding. So for me, it's like very good. I have a fairly large audience here in Brazil, and I get to talk and chat with a lot of people. And it's very crazy because I'm also the founder of a community, and I know the people in our community, and we have like a guy that is a car washer during the day, and he's talking about some new coin with a guy that is a multimillionaire, and they are both like talking to each other, and they haven't the slightest idea that they are interacting on the same environment. So this is something that crypto is bringing together. It's bridging social gaps, it's bridging economical gaps, and bringing people together that are craving for something new. And for me, it's very exciting, not only to be in Brazil, but to be able to build here, and fairly happy now that we can exchange some of this experience with the broader international audience.
A different way to unlock opportunities, right? This is what I take out of it. It's more about than just capitalism and just like empowering the individual. It's about making connections and building communities through a decentralized way. Really powerful message. I'd love to hear from Will. It's a European team, but it heavily involved with Brazil in general. And I'm sure like Will is a very good. Already tried several caipirinhas in his life, so I'd love to hear your opinion and perspective in Brazil.
Yeah, the several was only one last year, but so I need some more. I guess next week when I'm in Brazil. But we choose Brazil for a different aspect. We wanted to plant our trees where we could create an impact for local communities. And yeah, what better biome than the Amazon biome, where we all know it's the lungs of the earth, and it's under heavy threat. So we said, okay, hey, we want to plant and make an impact in a country where it's most needed. And we thought, okay, or we still think that is Brazil, where we can make that impact. For reference, we planted 3.5 million trees last year, and they are already generating 40 million kilos of food for local communities in Brazil. And we don't take a cut of that, because that's for the Brazilians. It's to give back to the communities that need it most. It's not about it's about giving everybody access to what they deserve, both socially, economical, but also education. We plant trees at communities where they've never seen a phone in their life, and now they need to geotag our trees. So we are also educating them on that part. And by coincidence, I got in Brazil 2 years ago at Blockchain Rio. It was 2022, and there I got in contact with some people that told me about, okay, how it's going in Brazil and what kind of impact we could create. And it was immediately a very trustworthy relationship. I feel that if you meet with the right people in Brazil, that you have connections for the rest of your life. And I get the same feeling if I'm talking with the Moonbeam team, for example. It just feels all love and all natural, and that is what triggers us to keep on doing our impact in Brazil. So we choose it from both the ecological side and social side in Brazil. And we haven't even really started promoting our project anywhere, because we are Dutch, so we are more builders than hypers. But we are now ready, well, with Moonbeam coming up, to let the world know that we are here and that we are making an impact, and that we can use everybody's help with that.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, such a powerful words as well. This is one very curious thing about Brazilians. It's funny how friendship occurs in Brazil and how you make friends. It's definitely believe this belief of a new beginning, of like a lifetime partnership, right? We're very close, and it's amazing to see the numbers that you guys have. When you think about blockchain impact all over the place, it seems that people tend to underestimate the amount of value that the industry already delivered. And I guess, those numbers are really, really impressive. And Moonbeam really shares the same sentiment about Brazil, about this excitement, about this opportunity that we have for all sides, from the community sides, from the economical side, to reduce these asymmetries that we have, the inequalities that we have, through you guys, of course, through the project that we have. And we're definitely here to support you. But I would love to understand from your perspective, like, how do you see Moonbeam is actually helping your project? Like, what is the main advantage, right, of being added to Moonbeam? Maybe we can start with Costa.
Well, sure. Right now, Moonbeam is one of the main supporters of our approach to the evolution of DAOs and social incentives. So we have like a grant from Moonbeam that is enabling us to build and to leverage a community in Moonbeam to foster engagement in the blockchain. It's called Moonvilla. It will start in Brazil, but it's like just a first step. We are going to experiment with new ways of engaging people on the blockchain. And we are also very fond of Moonbeam and all of their initiatives. Moonbeam seems to be right now one of the blockchains that are really focused on engaging community. And right now we are living on the fever of like money printing airdrops. And it seems to me that in this cycle, we have really not learned some important lessons from the last cycle. And we are just reiterating on magic tokens that are printed in order to speculate on. And I'm really glad to be joining Moonbeam on this effort and to be aboard on something that is not like doing the worst kind of incentives that we see right now in crypto. It's just engage people, promise nothing, deliver sort of far or less for someone, privilege whales, and in the end, dump a lot of tokens. So for me, it's really feel really gratified and really thankful for being able to be part of that. And also, I really enjoying the rebranding of Moonbeam and this new approach that Moonbeam is doing to leverage communities and to pay attention to some things that are new instead of just repeating the mistakes of yesterday.
It's a great words, Costa. Will, your thoughts?
Yeah, so we choose Moonbeam for a few reasons. Let's start with the best one, and that is, I think a year and a half ago, we started looking at grants. We were deploying Carbify on Polygon, and we applied for, I think, I don't know, 50, 100 grants, and we were in talks with Moonbeam Foundation and the grant committee, and I don't know, I can't remember what the reason was, but we decided to not continue. And but since a year and a half ago, we kept on contact with you, Tiago. So you get the credits for this. And it was never pushy. It was always, how are you guys doing? What's going on? What have you been doing? What are you up to? And never pushing us to go to Moonbeam. That was one of the main reasons that when we, a few months ago, again started looking at these kinds of partnerships, that we reached out to you and said, okay, now we are ready and we want to talk with you. And we got, and I don't want to exaggerate, but I think we got like 20 offers from other blockchains to go there. And we choose Moonbeam because, well, this was the main reason. Second reason is, of course, technical implementation that you guys offer with us able to use Moonbeam as a tree hub for all the trees that we have, and they can talk with each other. And we only need to update it once. But I think that is why those two reasons were the main drivers about us working with Moonbeam, and and that we want to continue with you guys.
I can't have more. I don't have enough words to talk about how excited I am with seeing Carbify, on Moonbeam, and seeing all the things we can build together. It's really aligned with our Brazilian focus, with our vision. We share the same sentiment, and this is very, very fortunate to have you guys here as well. And Joel, would love to hear your thoughts too.
Amazing. Just to give some context, like the way we're thinking about Picnic is really about being an alternative to a centralized exchange. So the amazing value I see in Moonbeam is to be able to offer assets that people won't be able to access via centralized exchange. So the long tail of assets, being able to offer things that you need to be in DeFi, and that usually takes quite a bit of education and hardship to get there. We make that thing easy, and we take those assets to a much broader spectrum of users. So I'm quite excited about like seeing content being made about Moonbeam and Picnic, specifically for Brazil. I think it will be, I'm pretty sure, the easiest way to get money into Moonbeam, get money into a few of the assets in the ecosystem as well. So super excited to be that bridge between Brazil and Moonbeam, and hopefully to more countries in the future as well.
That's so cool. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for this answer. I would love to talk more about maybe we can talk about the concept of this real world assets, TradeFi, DeFi. There's a lot of, tokenized assets on the blockchain that can be used for several different reasons. And one thing that I would love to hear from you, and maybe we can start, I don't know, maybe we can start with João. When we talk about this trend, which is not a trend anymore, it's something that it happens, right? And I think each one of you can bring different perspectives. Maybe from João's perspective, could you enlighten us? How do you see the mindset of those new investors, right? You're onboarding a lot of Web2 users to Web3, and we are talking about unlocking and unleashing new assets, for them to participate. How do you see this behavior? Like, do you see the acceptance? What are your feelings about it?
Cool. Yeah. I'll try to share like a general experience, and feel free to follow up with any specific questions. But it has to some extent been a surprise on like how big the education gap. Like you get into crypto for a while and you get used to all those concepts. What's a wallet? What's a seed phrase? And etc. And a lot of people have a hard time grasping the difference between like Binance and the wallet, for example. So it's like a lot of small things that you usually need to teach users about for them to interact with DeFi. And even though like we are working super hard to make those things easier, so for example, gas.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
We you pay gas in any token, we abstract that away, but there's still that message like, oh, you have blockchain costs. So those small frictions, they kind of add up, and it is a ever continuing effort to make everything as easy as possible. So for example, now we're having a few discussions in like we call stablecoins by their symbol. So like the Brazilian real stablecoins BRLA, like dollars we have USDC, USDT. But just saying that you don't have Brazilian reais, that you have BRLA, it is too much of a friction for quite a few people. Like if you get the really not crypto familiar person, like we have been onboarding a few of our family members, sometimes older family members, into Picnic. And sometimes they don't even want to buy crypto. They just want to buy like USDC and have that USDC yielding like 8% a year on compound or something like that. We actually tried quite a bit that use case to get yield on stablecoins, but it was hard to get people like comfortable with the products, right? There's a smart contract risk. Like, what is that? How do people relate to that? Is that risk high, low? Like, if you don't want to assume responsibility for the investment and you just want to intermediate, it can get very challenging to explain some concepts that we are quite familiar with crypto users. So it's just a lot to unpack, and every small details tend to make a difference, and every friction adds up, right? So it's a ever going process to make it simple, but I'm confident we'll get there. Excited to build this thing.
Me too, me too. And it's great to have you here. Like when we talk about in these spaces, we talk about those frictions and things like this. It's always about like, yeah, no, it's such a positive without highlighting the difficulties to make that happen. And I think the beauty and the successful teams understand is we have to map those difficulties and making sure we are walking towards that. And if I can make a word about Picnic, and surely, like a lot of my friends, when they ask me about, Bitcoin and all this stuff, they want to know how they can get some exposure to it. I rather send them to Picnic. I think this is the best way, to start learning about it. Surely, I want to hear Costa's thoughts, but before I know that when we talk about real world assets, right? And I think this is where you guys really shine, because we were talking about this some hours ago. The having use cases like yours live for so long, it's so hard and it's such underappreciated. I wouldn't say underappreciated. I say like people doesn't recognize the real value of real world assets. And I think Carbify is one of the easiest way to explain. Can you share your vision about this tokenization space? Like you've been here for so long, can you explain a little bit how you see it, and like how it's helping to build the future?
Yes, and let's start with that. I agree. It's so difficult to get recognition as an RWA project. I mean, it's not sexy, it's not hyped, it's not the go-to market right now. Everybody's in those let's keep it nice, but those nonsense meme coins that are not adding any value. I think that we and I was hoping that with this current cycle that we are in, that we would go back to the projects that really matter and see, okay, hey, what is blockchain meant? Why was it invented? What can we do with it? And let's utilize the capacity of blockchain technology. And blockchain also has its limitations because when we started, we minted trees, and those trees are NFTs, and they have a geolocation in it. But after that, we wanted to create the CO2, and we wanted to link it back to the original source, so back to the NFT. And it has never been done before in the world, not in the traditional world, not in the crypto world. So we needed to invent new ways on doing that, which gave us limitations, because like I said, we started on Polygon, and even though Polygon is super cheap, if you need to do 1 million transactions times 1 cent, it's still a lot. And RWAs, there was time that everybody said, okay, hey, RWAs are the real deal, let's focus on that. But then you also saw in RWAs, you saw everybody was talking about real estate. And yeah, I don't want to bash other RWA projects, but real estate, I don't think that is the real utility of RWAs. You can still not own it. You can get part of the revenue, for example, but it's still not the solution. And we struggle a lot. Everybody we talk to, we need to explain, okay, hey, what are you doing? Why are you using blockchain? And then we explain, hey, we are RWA project, we do trees, CO2, and we make a real world impact, social impact. And then like, oh, okay, but I did not know that blockchain could do this, and that this was the goal for the technology. So we find it hard to be a non-sexy project to attract lots of users, even though we think we should have lots of users. So those are the limitations that we run into. And I think the market and the education and people are not making it easier by aping in those meme coins, earning lots of money. Some people are earning lots of money and then being rug pulled, and then crypto get a bad name. And we are not all crypto. We are blockchain projects with utility, and you cannot compare that with meme coins. So hope that answers your question.
I love that. And what I'm loving about this, this half hour so far, is that when we talk about opportunities, we talk about the struggles. And this is where I think, we really shine. But three builders in general, right? Because we understand the potential of where we can get, like the end goal. And we understand, like the difficulties we're facing, and we are working towards that. Unlike projects that never deliver it and over speak, right, and say like, yeah, we do a lot of stuff, but there's don't have like meaningful value. I think all of you can, certain prove that you have deliver a lot of value, and still working towards mitigating those those barriers, but in a very successful way, in a successful path. I'm very optimistic about this. And Casta, like hearing João and William talk about, like the convincing people, right? It's not about convincing. It's about like talking to people and making them understand. It's educating people, right, to see like the real value of blockchain. I always had this feeling that this user journey to bring people over is about first awareness, second consideration and decision, right? It's like this 3-step phase where you have to actually onboard a user. When we talk about potentially hype or meme coins, we are skipping the second step of consideration, right? We are building awareness and people go FOMO directly and have to make the decision and buy stuff. So it's not like a very conscious decision that you're making. And you as like an expert in community and crypto philosophy, let's say, could you give your 2 cents, like in this user journey, and what you believe is the best path, to not only educate but to give awareness, to make them consider, and to make them decide and understand the real value that we have from those projects.
Well, sure. Thanks for the question. It's a very good question. And often people ask me something that goes alongside what you just said, and it is the question that when will we see mainstream crypto adoption, right? What we lack in order to really onboard millions, billions of people into the blockchain space. And some people will say, well, we lack scalability, we lack user-friendly experience, we lack more integration, we lack education. And it is true that to some degree we still lack all of this stuff, right? We are still developing so much of the blockchain technology and the crypto technology. But what I often counter argue is that we are going to solve those issues. It's just a matter of time. We are going to improve scalability. We are going to improve user experience. We are going to improve educational content. But there is like a trigger that is missing in order to onboard like millions and billions of people. And that trigger is that we are still not suffering enough. We still have not enough pain from the traditional system in order to people really want to migrate to something else. We can recall, for instance, the journey of the internet. Like internet was conceived in the year of 169, I think, really on the verge of the 70s. The internet was conceived inside the North American ARPA, an arm of defense of their military. And it took like almost 30 years for that to really to pick up. Like we conceived the internet on the beginning of the 70s, and we see internet overtake the world from 2000 to 2010, and then from that point on, nothing was like the same again. And in order for people to really onboard what we call crypto and blockchain, they must understand and they must come to a point where or you join or you will buy less food next week or next month. Because if we are not truly solving a systemic pain from the world, then we shall not see systemic approach and systemic onboarding and systemic adoption from the world. But I think that this end game is inevitable. While we are here, like fostering technology, fostering education, fostering infrastructure, the world is aggravating itself in socioeconomic crises and geopolitical crises, and we need to come up with an answer. And the answer that we must come up with is an answer of new paradigms in human coordination, new socioeconomical paradigms that may be an alternative for people to live better lives and to be better, not only financially, but also socially, better coordination, better human coordination. And that for me is the main point in everything I do. Like when we talk about Valocracy, that is our project, it is a proposal for a new socio-economical framework, a new kind of digital society on the lines of Baladi, a new setup for a network state, for instance. That is how I see this space. And when we talk about, like to finish or wrapping up your question, when we talk about meme coins, people usually say, well, but meme coins are onboarding people. I'm not so sure if meme coins are onboarding people, because I'm really not sure if meme coins buyers are really getting into crypto, or if they are just like playing on a new kind of casino. To onboard people is not just to make people set up a MetaMask. To onboard people in the blockchain revolution, if we say so, is also to onboard their mentality, to give them awareness, as you just said, that we need to do things different. But if we bring people to crypto only to print infinite amounts of meme coins, then how are we able to criticize the fiduciary system? How are we able to criticize the money printing of dollars if we are just like copying and pasting infinite amounts of NFTs and tokens that don't serve any real purpose? So I don't see that like fostering speculation is the most healthy path for us. It may like bring more people to MetaMask, but it's not really bringing people to what we may understand as the blockchain era or the Web3 era.
Such a powerful message. Such a powerful message. And it's again, such insightful discussion from very different perspectives, right? From each one of you. And I think when we sum up, we can see the big picture, right? Of where we are going and why we are optimists, not only about Brazil, but about this mainstream adoption, because there's a lot of good people and good projects building, useful and products that will, make the changes in the world. and we talked about community, right? And Casa, maybe I'll go to Will first. When we talk about each project and thinking a little bit more within the scope of your project and having your community, like one of the most important thing that we have is like this community management, community growth. I think part of this discussion that we had so far was about onboarding those users, right? But once they are there, we have to do this community management, community growth. I would love to hear from your side of things, because I see that every project, I don't think we came to an agreement what is the best, let's say, layout, or if there's like some standards like SOPs that you can do like for community management. So I would love to hear, how you have been, in this last few years, I believe, right, with Carbify, building this strong community, this very healthy and strong community, very excited and passionate about Carbify.
Um, well, I think lots of the community building is coming from the mouth to mouth, from people. We started the project with community members that we knew from other projects, and they had to trust in us. So I think trust is a big issue in community growth. We came all from different backgrounds. Our community is coming from different backgrounds. We have all age ranges in our community, and they talk to other people about Carbify, and we see them join. We have sons and mothers in the community. We have grandparents and their grandchildren in our community. We have everything. We have brothers and sisters. We have husband and wives. It's all related to explaining what the project is and what we do. And sometimes we wondered, okay, do we need traditional crypto marketing for degens in our community, or for fake community growth? Because that is also what's wrong with crypto. Sometimes we just got ignored because they look at our Telegram. They said, "Hey, oh, you guys only have 1,000 members in your Telegram. Go buy some more followers to get to 3 or 4 or 5,000, and then we'll talk again." But that's not community building for us. For us, community building is having a few hundred messages a day in your Discord or in your Telegram and replying to them and interacting with those people. I think that is the most important thing. Just stick to yourself, and then the value of your project will be shown to the world in the end. But we need to overcome those current issues first. But if you keep true to yourself, then we will grow, and you will succeed as a project. And your community is a strong part of that. So I want to use this opportunity to at least thank our community. I see some listeners in here, so thanks for being a part of Carbify since the beginning. And without the community, it was never possible.
Amazing, amazing. It's really, this is really powerful. This is really powerful. We look at most of our uh, easy and quick analysis over projects, and some rough KPIs might be around like, yeah, get the users and etc. But at the end of the day, look at it, Carbify an amazing example of how much value added from the crypto space with the community has, which is very powerful as well. It doesn't need to pump the numbers, let's say, to make it real and successful. And thank you so much, Will, for that. And Casta, if we talk about community, surely we were talking about one of the experts that go to sleep and dreams about community in general, like in strategy and the future and this philosophy side of things. Can you explain a little more, maybe philocracy, or your understanding, like again, I don't think we have like a magic formula that solves all the problems. I think we'll touch base in this, in this strategy, right? Which is like, keep it passionate, keep it real, keep it to real, make sure you're doing meaningful connections, right? But can you put, some your 2 cents, over community management in general?
Well, sure. One of the main things that got me really hooked into crypto was when I bought my first Bitcoin. Of course, like many others, I bought my first Bitcoin in order to make money. But as I am a guy that like to study stuff, as soon as I bought my first Satoshis, I was like, well, let's study Bitcoin. And then I started to get into decentralization and like, what is money at the end? Because people usually say like, oh, Bitcoin is not real money. And then I argued, well, but what is money in the end? So I started to study like economics and the history of money, and that gave me a lot of insights into what I really wanted to do in crypto and the power of crypto. And when I started to build communities and take a look at what was going in the current scenario of DAOs, of airdrops, of engagement, of liquidity mining, which are mechanisms we use to coordinate people on the blockchain and to get people to do stuff together or to do stuff to some common end, I was really disappointed because it was not really something different from what we already have in the world. Like for instance, when we take a DAO and we say, well, here is our DAO, then we have our own fungible token, and if you buy more units of this token, then you have a greater governance power, and then we call it decentralized governance. But this is a system where if you have more money, if you have more economic power, then you also have more votes or you have more political power. And a system where economic power translates into political power, it's the system that we already have in the traditional fiat world. If you have more money, you have more political representation. Not in the ballot, but in the lobby system or in like more shady system. So what are we doing here? We are just tokenizing what we already have, or are we really innovating? I call this effect the tokenization of garbage. If you tokenize garbage, then you still have garbage. So it's just more liquid, for say so, or you have like garbage on Binance and you can pair it on USDT and trade garbage. But in terms of system, we are not actually innovating if we still have systems that foster the same socio-economic incentives that in the traditional world, only in a tokenized fashion. So when I designed Valocracy and I wrote the Valocracy manifesto, and like Moonvilla is one of the first instances of a Valocracy, we came to the conclusion that we need a new system. Not only we need new technology, but new technology must enable new systems. And we built Valocracy around 6 principles. Of course, I will not like share all of those with you. I invite everyone to check out valocracy.xyz to check out our full manifesto. But our first principle is the most important one. The first principle is that in new digital societies, if we really aim to solve some of the current problems we are facing, we must split economic power from governance power. So you cannot rule or organize a community if the same token that gives the economical incentive and is the token that gives you political power. So we have a dual token system where we split those assets, and like governance power is so bound, you cannot sell it. And the smart contracts that regulate the economics are separated from the smart contracts that regulate economic fairs in the society. And we have been experimenting with that. Like we are just starting right now. It's not something that is mature. We say that we are in the version 0.1 alpha, but we aim to experiment and really build upon the feedback that people gives us from new kinds of network states. Like, let's borrow the term from Balaji, that blockchains are not only a token, and blockchains in instance smart contract platforms are emerging nations. And we must find new ways to coordinate people on those nations if we aim to end up with something better than what we already have in the traditional world. That is my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. I think those 2 cents, it's worth to a few $1,000s at least. And like Casta, when I hear you speaking, I think about this critical reasoning, this opportunity to challenge ourselves in the way that we think about community and allowing ourselves to discuss that in an open way. This is very powerful. Just a quick reminder to everyone: we're gonna have a Gota swap at the end, which is very exciting as well. I think it's the first one that we're doing through Moonbeam. So I would like to start with some final thoughts. I would love to start with you, João. Your final thoughts, your message to the Moonbeam community, and next steps.
Yeah, sounds great. We just launched Moonbeam on Picnic today. It is live at usepicnic.com/em for English. You can try it out, like swapping from Moonbeam to other chains or vice versa, doing some swaps inside Moonbeam. No need to have native tokens, so no need for a Glimmer. You pay gas in any token you want. It would be amazing to get some support of the Moonbeam community and get some feedback. And yeah, it's the first time I think we're targeting more crypto native users at a global reach. We used to do that like a few years ago, but we had been focused quite a bit in Brazil. So curious to see how that product will land with the Moonbeam community. And it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you. Casta, I'd love to have your final words and final thoughts here and the message to the community.
Well, just appreciate the invitation. It was a pleasure to share this hour with you guys. If anyone wants to contact me, please feel free to send a message. It would be a pleasure to respond. And just wish all of the best for everyone that is here. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, man. Will?
Yeah, first of all, big thanks to you, Tiago, and to Moonbeam in general for having us here and hosting this AMA. I will be at the Blockchain Rio next week, so if you guys are there, I'd love to meet up. We'll be at the Moonbeam stand. We'll do some side events, and yeah, how you guys can all help is that we will do a special announcement together with Moonbeam. I won't spoil it, Tiago, don't worry. But we'll do something special with Moonbeam very soon as the technical issues are solved. And yeah, really looking forward to having more moonbeamies. Is that the word? Is that how you call your community, your moonbeamies? But at least have them in our community and interact and get to know more people that share like-minded visions. So thank you very much.
I appreciate the words, and yeah, we're very, very excited to the next steps. I guess also a call to action to Blockchain Rio. Everybody that is joining us in Blockchain Rio, make sure to stop in our booth. We're gonna have amazing conversations, and we do have a few surprises in Blockchain Rio as well. But without further ado, hopefully I did it right. It's my first Gotas that I create. So you guys can access Gotas, this prop, through gotas.social. I think we can have, let me type here in the chat as well. So you go to gotas.social and the code to redeem is Moon Brazil with an S. So you do MOONBRASIL with an S, of course, because it's Brazil. In Portuguese, Brazil is with an S, not a Z. So you can go over there. You can claim your prop. It was a tremendous pleasure to have this crowd here, to have you, Casta, João, and William. Thank you so much for your insights. We should definitely do this more often, and we have a lot to learn from you guys. And let's continue to build. So once again, thank you all for your time today, and talk soon.